This is Iowa Everywhere. And now, it's time for Two Guys Named Chris, powered by Fareway Meat and Grocery. This is Iowa Everywhere. For the fans.
What's going on? Welcome to a Sunday evening episode of Two Guys Named Chris. My name is Chris Williams, joined by Chris Hassel. 4-1, brother. 4-1. 5-1.
I believe you're 5-1.
5-1. 5-1.
Yeah.
The Minnesota Vikings. I thought here on a Sunday episode we may as well, win in
Williams,
Rome.
you told me that you were going to be wearing a Vikings jersey, so I figured I better break out my my Bears jersey.
Who's that?
It has my name on it.
Oh, the personalized jersey guy.
You know when I got this?
High school?
1994.
Yep. Okay, so earlier.
It's got the 75th anniversary patch on it.
That's actually really cool.
It's sewed in. The jersey's sewn. Numbers are sewn. My dad got it for me.
I have a Warren
Still
Moon
fits.
one. That's a Vikings one. That's
Really?
just like that. Yeah.
I
That's
thought you were going to say Oilers because that would have been a really cool jersey.
No,
to
I have the
have.
Vikings Warren Moon. So when I go to Vikings games, it's kind of like a badge of honor to show like how old of a jersey you can wear because people are like, oh no, that brother's been through it all with us, right? So my jersey of choice, I have an Anthony Carter one. I like to pull out, and then the Warren Moon jersey. Like, I'll just walk around Minneapolis, and people will just be like, "Moon!" They love it. They eat it up. They just dig it.
I forgot for a moment that Warren Moon was with the Vikings after his Oilers career.
Just for my Cyclone cred, this is a
Now, yeah, that's now Wongwu is how it's pronounced.
Kene Wongwu jersey
Yeah,
for
you guys had it wrong the entire time he was in college.
5 years. We mispronounced his name.
What'd you call him?
Nwangwu, Kene Nwangu.
Nwongu.
Yeah.
And then I start hearing NFL announcers calling him Wongwu, and I thought they were the crazy ones. Turns
heard
out
about
you guys were lazy.
Well, this happened. You guys did this too with Russ Millard.
Is it not Millard?
It's Millard.
No.
Swear to God.
See, so I went to elementary school with a girl named Candace who claimed to be his cousin, and she never said anything like that. She said it was Millard, and her name was Candace Millard.
Bud Legg told me this. You know Bud.
Of course.
So, legend, like icon.
Sure.
Off season, like we should have Bud come on and just bullshit with him. He's phenomenal. But longtime guy at the Iowa High School Athletic Association brings Russ Millard into the Hall of Fame. And Russ says, "Hey, would you just make sure that the PA guy pronounces my name right?" He's like, I got kids now and I just want to make
that
sure.
happens more often than people realize. These, whether they're athletes or writers, people that appear on TV, people that you know, their names are pronounced differently than everyone pronounces them. Like the ESPN, God, there was somebody at ESPN that told me, Windhorst. You know, the NBA,
Brian
the NBA
Windhorst.
writer, Brian Windhorst. He said it's actually pronounced Windhurst.
Really? And they
Hurst,
just
not Horst. And he said, but I don't really care, so we just go with it. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's really freaking crazy. Well, anyways, welcome to the program. Hey, I did get a confirmation, by the way. I had lunch with somebody from Fareway. You are going to get a giant box of meat. A bunch of raw meat's just going to get shipped there. It's going to be frozen.
Okay,
and then
great.
you can do whatever you want with your meat once you get it. But
That's fantastic.
yeah, anyways, so that's
I can't wait.
We're saving hassle from the garbage meat in the Southeast. Real meat from Fareway.
See, I
Meat
thought
and
they
Grocery.
had given it to you, and
Coming
you
your
were
way.
supposed to send it to me.
I would.
And
You
then
think
you
I would
just
do
kept
that?
it?
Do you honestly
intercepted
think
it?
I would do that?
Yes.
Yeah, you're probably right.
I see
Depends
all that
on
meat that you guys cook up on college Saturdays. We got a little coffee there.
Yeah, dude. These weekends, and I love them. Look, come here, Elise. Come say hi to Daddy's podcast, people. Just real. I mean, the sweetest little girls.
I'm pretty sure this podcast has the explicit label on it.
Yeah, these.
Explicit content.
it's
can
these-
your daughter really be around for this?
Yeah, but she's fine. She's heard it all. But I have my daughters. It's 2-on-1, right? And these weekends are just when I'm trying to work and my wife is at the clinic for 2 full days. So yeah, I'm drinking coffee at 7:07 on a Sunday night. I absolutely am.
Cheers.
Don't judge me.
I'm not judging you. I'm just surprised. See, I drink coffee when we do the morning show. You drink coffee when we do a night show.
Yeah. Yep. So, thanks to all who are watching and listening here on a Sunday night. Hassel's got
why
some
are we
CBS
doing this
stuff.
again?
You have some CBS stuff on tomorrow. This is on you. What are you asking me for?
I wanted to know if you remembered, and I wanted you to tell the audience why we're doing this. We're not doing this and the Monday morning show. This is it. This is the show.
Mr. Big Shot National Media over here. He's got more important things to do.
You know what? You know what it
morning.
is tomorrow?
What?
It's a Dr. Pepper shoot with Brady Quinn.
Oh,
and
nice.
it deals with the Dr. Pepper halftime toss,
yeah.
the chest passes.
So this is like a commercial that you're going to be in?
Basically, yes. And it's going to be, he's going to be the one throwing. He did one last year where he figured out that it is actually a lot easier to score more points by chest passing it. He thought that it was going to be the other way around, that he was going to be able to, throw overhand and don't look like an idiot. Mm-hmm. But it turns out that these guys, these kids, these college kids, they know what they're doing because the chest pass is the way to go. So that is not going anywhere. Is Elise bothering you?
No, she's just climbing back up.
You want me to tell her to get out of the room?
She's climbing back up on our chair. She's good for now. We're good. We're good. But no, thanks for everybody for being flexible with us. Yeah, this is the show, so don't try and tune in on.
This is the show.
Monday
It's like
morning.
the Seinfeld episode where Banya has the dinner. This is the dinner. If you order soup, that's the dinner. Okay, this is the show. And
Salad.
there's
Just a
and
salad.
how about Van Wink just coming up right away with the Dr. Pepper chest pass from last year? This is why you watch on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter.
It reminds
Van
me.
Wink.
My favorite thing is when the girl, after she won, she's like, Dr. Pepper changed my life. Dr. Pepper.
Dr. Pepper has changed my life as well.
Hey,
that's
will
why
you-
we're doing this tonight instead of tomorrow.
Will you tell the Dr. Pepper people? I mean this, Van Wink. See if you can pull this up. I truly believe that Dr. Pepper has a cream soda zero flavored that's out. It is my favorite soda of all time. It's Dr. Pepper cream soda zero. And see if you can get these. If they can just send me a couple boxes, I'll endorse.
So
the hell
there's
out of
no
it. They don't-
calories?
No, and they don't have to pay me for this. I just want free Dr. Pepper cream soda.
Wait, they don't have to pay you to give you free Dr. Pepper? Is that what you're saying?
I mean, they're on Two Guys Named Chris. They're getting all this free pub. I mean, they're getting thousands of dollars. Yeah, right here, this pop. This is
Whoa.
the best soda on the planet Earth.
I've never seen that.
It's freaking amazing. It is
So
unreal.
I have this thing where I can't or I don't drink dark pop. And now I call it soda because nobody down here calls it pop.
Yeah, it's not even a thing.
When
down
I was
there.
in Des Moines, I had a major stomach issue where I had a stomach ache for like a year and a half straight. So I started cutting out certain things from my diet just to see if it would help. And when I cut out dark pop, that's what did it. A year and a half into this thing, dark pop.
Really?
So,
That
yeah,
was it.
So now I would because I love Dr. Pepper. It's spicy.
it's
I
got
love
like
that little
27
spice.
different flavors. or
Yeah,
whatever it is.
it's a good Christmas time pop, but unfortunately, my stomach can't handle it. Josh Betts wants to know who would win the Dr. Pepper toss between me and you, Chris. Are you athletic? Well, you were on that.
I can hold my own, but I'm not.
You were on the Clarinda Academy basketball team, and I
Shut
wasn't on my varsity team. Right?
Not even going to go there because the last time I did that, people were decorating my camper. It turned into this whole deal. I told you, I know I told you this. My mom and dad were walking around at my niece's volleyball game, and people were like shaking their heads at them because of the Clarinda Academy banter here on Two Guys Named Chris.
We had gone at least like 5 shows without mentioning Clarinda Academy. It's over.
All right. A lot of great comments coming in on Facebook and YouTube. Thank you. Keep them going. We like to have the We like to have the interaction. It's a lot of fun. If you're listening on the podcast on Monday morning, you can watch these live. You can go back and watch it. Van Winkle does a great job of pulling up graphics and stuff. So we're just striving to keep getting better at this, and the video thing adds a lot to it. So you can follow us on YouTube. We just got over 1,000 followers. That's where you can watch the show, and you don't have to watch it live. You can go back and watch it on demand at any point in time. Let's get to the Iowa State recap, and then we'll get into the rest of college football as well. I'll start, Chris. Really good improvement. Ben Bruns was on Cyclone Sunday here and called it Iowa State's best game of the season as far as play goes.
I don't think there's any doubt about that.
Yeah, got a lot better. The offense looked like a totally different group than what you saw the last couple of weeks. The defense continued to be lights out. Really, really shaky on special teams. Another block punt for Iowa State, and then a big kickoff return. Now, granted, neither one of those really cost them. They kind of lucked out because the defense got a big stop after this block punt, and then the kickoff return there was a hold on, but still, it's not winning in the margins.
Missed field goal cost him.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that cost him at least.
There are
overtime.
so many special teams mistakes week in and week out, you can't even remember them all the next
You're
day.
right, and it's been this way for a while now. Yeah. So, really good game other than the special teams. You still come down with a loss at the end of the day, though, Chris. And, man, it's just 14 points and 4 losses is really hard to fathom. That's actually a really difficult statistic to stumble upon.
That's a Kirk Ferentz special. I mean, that's what Kirk Ferentz would do, is he would have all these losses. I remember the 2008 season was a lot like this for Iowa, where they lost a lot of games early and they were really close, and then they did turn the season around. You remember that win against Penn State, number 2 in the country, toward the end of the season. They went to the Outback Bowl. They rolled South Carolina. They ended up winning 8 or 9 games after some really devastating, close losses. And there was major improvement. There's no doubt about that. And it was a fun game to watch. But the bottom line is they continue to lose close games in the margins because of special teams, because of, your best player again dropped a pass that for the second straight week might have put you in position to win the football game.
Third straight week.
Straight week. That's
he dropped one in the end zone. This is a hard thing for me to analyze, and I want to pick your brain on it. The Hutchinson deal is so hard because he might win the Biletnikoff this year. Like, go and look at his stats. He's got the best statistical profile of any wide receiver in the country. And he is so active in that offense. He's targeted so many times, and he's dropped these 3 really big passes in these games. It's hard for me when I'm trying to analyze him because
we're watching this right now, though, Chris. Did he really need to jump or dive? What was that? He could have easily caught that and run into the end zone for a touchdown.
I have no idea. I don't know. And that's what makes it so hard to analyze him, because they're probably not even in these games without him, and then he's had, I don't know, maybe he did need it. I don't know.
I don't think he did. I think if I just had to guess, he thought that if he just made the catch and went down, that would give him a better opportunity of securing the football and not try to do more with it than he needed to. But it was a perfect throw. Yeah. I think that he should have caught it in stride and run into the end zone.
It's so hard to analyze him because I don't want to kill him too much because he's been so good. He's just had these 3 high-profile drops, right? And it's maddening. I feel really bad for him because we all know he's a good receiver. But, man, you're right, though. Like, if your best player makes those plays, you're probably 5-1 going into the bye.
Jeez.
Right? I mean, I would give Baylor, I would still count that as a loss, but the other ones are by 3 points, 1 point, and then that. Now, who knows? Texas at that point could have gone down and scored. Sure. It wasn't a guarantee, but man, it takes you out of the situation, which we're going to get into next on the controversy
right
at the end of this football game. Where
There
you're
are
not
ways to avoid needing a call to win a game.
Yeah, so let's take a look here at the controversial play at the end of the game. And I want full disclosure, I'm at a game watch, okay? I'm at our game watch at Fong's and for Cyclone Fanatic. So it was difficult. I didn't really have great sound because I'm with a bunch of people and it's loud and everybody's drinking and all that stuff. I thought he had fumbled it, and I thought they were just reviewing it because it's a close play at the end of the game, and they would see if they would tack on a targeting. Now, and I've heard from people who were there that it was very much mass confusion, and you could see it at the end of this when the officials come back and they said the play on the field stands. Matt Campbell celebrates. You saw him like pump his fist. He thought that they had the football. So what happened was, and Randy Peterson from the Des Moines Register gets the credit for this, goes to the Big 12, finds out that they misspoke on the field. So the official on the field live yesterday says that the ruling on the field was that his knee was down. I think it's pretty clear that was a fumble, that the ball was coming out there. But the Iowa State coaches and players didn't know that he had misspoken, apparently, at that point. And I think a lot of that, like just mass confusion, I think built up over the last couple of years because targeting is a really weird deal. We're going to get into that. And I think you have a unique perspective being a national play-by-play guy on this. Nobody really knows what the hell it is anymore. Iowa State fans, I think, are really jaded on this specific rule because of Isheem Young in the Big 12 championship game, the Bo Freeler thing a couple weeks ago at Baylor. And there's just an overall lack of consistency. But I think you put it all together, and it was a little bit of a melting pot of anger at the end of that football game yesterday.
But there were many, many Iowa State fans who agreed with what our thoughts were, that you shouldn't have put yourself in that position, and it was an uncertain call. That call could have gone either way.
Yeah, and
I was in a very similar situation to you in that I wasn't fully into the sound. I wasn't fully into the announcers and the ref. I was getting ready to start my game in Birmingham, and we were getting ready to go on the air, and I had the game up on my laptop. I was watching it very closely, and not really hearing everything, I somehow was able to be on the same page of what they were actually doing. The whole time I thought that the play had been ruled a fumble, and that they were going to review it to see if it was indeed a fumble. And at the same time, when it's a play as close as that, they're also going to look to see if they think that a targeting is warranted, they will add that in review. And then I think there was just a lot of confusion because of a misspeak. Now, that doesn't change the way this was officiated. The fact that he misspoke, all that did was put Iowa State fans in a weird situation and Iowa State coaches and players in a weird situation where they thought that they got the call and they didn't.
Yeah, it was.
But that wouldn't have changed the call. The misspeak wouldn't have changed anything.
No, I think it's pretty clear that the ball was coming out, and that's
no doubt. I don't think there's any doubt that ball was coming out before the knee was down. The targeting,
it's a 50-50.
You could go either way, but it wasn't called on the field. I really did not think that there was enough there to put a targeting call on that. All those slow-mo replays, I didn't think there was enough to put a targeting call on that.
So I would encourage everybody to go and listen to, because he disagrees with me. Like if I'm the commissioner of college football, that's not targeting. Okay? Like if I could make up the rules. But the problem is, and I understand why this infuriates fans. I get it. When you have guys get tossed for way less of hits than that.
And that's the problem.
Yeah, and there's just no consistency.
That's the problem.
Yeah, and I actually kind of feel bad for the refs because I think that they're kind of being put in an impossible spot here.
And fan bases and teams believe that if something was done to them, they should be getting it back eventually.
Correct.
And that's just not how it works. These officiating crews are different week to week. They have no idea that you may have gotten jobbed on this several times before. They're not into make-up calls throughout the course of several years. That's just not going to happen. I get why fans are frustrated because I don't think there's anybody that can watch a college football game and definitively, even at a 90% clip, call these targeting penalties correctly. I think there's so much gray area, and the rule changes slightly each year that it makes it impossible.
Well, that's my thing too. If you were to say, "Hey, Chris, do you think that was targeting?"
I don't
know. Well, I would say this: like, I
don't
don't
think it was.
like in the current form. I don't know.
If he was
Like,
sliding,
If
it would have
I'm
been.
the
But he
if
went-
I'm the
he went-
commissioner of college football, that's not targeting. In the current like era of college football, I don't know if it is because every game, flip it from game to game, you see less. You see guys get kicked out for less. And did you watch Thursday night the hit in the West Virginia Baylor
I
game?
did not see that one. No.
Is it Matt? See if you could pull it up from my Twitter feed on Thursday night. I tweeted this, Hassel, and you're gonna see this. And a ton of Iowa State fans are watching this because it's a Big 12 game. And this guy doesn't get called for targeting. There's just like, so you ask me, like, is it targeting? Well, in my world, no, that's not targeting. I wouldn't kick a guy out of the game for that. I don't think he should be flagged for that. In this current world, I have no idea because there's just no consistency at all. Not even game to game, quarter to quarter, right? Like what do you see nationally? Like, is it as
Same
prevalent?
thing.
I mean, week to week, it's just you have no idea. It just depends on the.
There have been many times where a play is being reviewed for targeting, and the analyst and I will 100% agree. Everybody in the truck is in agreement. It's yes or it's no, and they come back with an opposite ruling, and we're flabbergasted.
Look at that.
It's
this
just
was
so
not
subjective.
targeting. Look at this.
That's crown on crown, but that's not necessarily. If you got one guy going down to meet the other guy, it's tough when you have
That is the definition of
running
targeting.
backs
helmet to helmet,
going
using your
down
helmet.
with their helmet.
Here you go.
If
Here's
if the runner is coming to meet, it's tough. That's so tough. That to me, yes, it looks like targeting.
Yeah, it's whatever. Like that's just one
That looks
example.
like
I thought that was a
targeting, but-
egregious miss. Like the fact that Bo Freeler got kicked out in that Baylor game for that, and then and that's where I can like sympathize with Iowa State fans because you as a fan, all you want is like, hey, like you said, like just some consistency and like, well, it happened to us, right? Like, and that's unfortunately, I think these officials, and then I think it's also a very real case that the officials aren't as good in the Big 12 as they are in the SEC, and in the I'm guessing that they're probably a lower level
Probably
when
not.
you do a Conference USA game, right? It's like I'm guessing 4A officials in basketball in the CIML get paid more than the ones in Southwest Iowa where I grew up. Like
There are
it's just
different
the-
levels, no question.
Yeah,
But
the reality.
here's the
of
bottom
it.
line: Decker's slides.
Then it's
One,
yeah.
he doesn't fumble. Two, if he gets hit like that, it is targeting. It is at least
yeah,
a
they have to
15-yard
throw the
penalty.
flag. Yeah,
At
They have
least
to.
a roughness penalty because he's a defenseless player. He's giving himself up. But since he didn't slide, since he kind of went forward and it was kind of an awkward like head over knees type thing, all bets are out the window and you're not considered defenseless, and that's when that rule changes. So
Man.
I think
X
that
catches the ball and you probably win. That's it.
right.
It's just
and,
a brutal.
And if you
brutal-
don't throw an interception in the end zone when you're up 7-0 and either going to make it 10-0 or 14-0, it's a totally different game. You throw an interception in the end zone and then all of a sudden Texas has the lead at halftime.
It was tough, man. That was a heartbreaking loss. I felt that one for the rest of the night. That you just felt like if they could win that game and momentum's kind of building throughout that second half, you go down and score and take the lead. It really could have changed the tone of this Iowa State season. The good news is here that the offense looked a lot better, and that was the best game of Hunter Decker's very young career at this point. He used his legs, which I love to see him get out. And that now they're still not running the football well. And I really want to see these running backs get healthy during the bye week. That's clearly a thing. They were sparingly using Jabril Brock and Cartevious Norton. Let's see how healthy those guys can get during the bye. But this gives you at least a little bit of hope, Chris, that Iowa State, I think, can still get to a bowl game. If the offense is producing like that and your defense is the way it is, you got some very winnable games in the second half.
They're
can
so
yeah.
close.
Yeah.
And they're clearly not what their record says they are in the Big 12. 0-4, but all 4 losses are, well, at least 3 of the 4 are flip a coin and you win that game. The problem now is this is becoming a theme. Whether it's against Texas or Kansas State, it's becoming, and you go back to last year, you're losing these close games. And it's hard to get over that hump. Where if you're in a game late, oh my God, here we go again. We've lost all of these this season, other than the Iowa game.
And I'd argue that it goes the other way too, because from 2017 to 2020, they won the majority of those games, and it can work the other way too, where you're in that spot and you're like, hey, we've been here before, right? Like And you watched them do that. They won a lot of those really close games when Campbell was building up the program, and it's going the other way right now.
But now how tight is Hutchinson going to be next time he's faced in that situation? Maybe those last 2 games of drops were in his head when that ball was coming down for a chance to make a huge play late in that game, and that's why he kind of wanted to go to the ground with it instead of just catching it in stride and running into the end zone.
It was like the wide open layup in basketball. It's just like no one else around you. You don't expect to be that open, and it's
just
Michael
a
Jordan. Heartbreaker. Yeah,
it's your best player, maybe the best wide receiver in college football, and
he's on pace. He's on pace to have 1,400 yards this year.
Jeez, and the offense hasn't really been producing that much.
No, like but the point out is his usage rate is out of it. It is insane, and it's just that's what's such a shame because he's having a historic year. This is going to be the best, unless it completely tails off or he gets hurt. It's going to be the best year ever by an Iowa State wide receiver. Like it's very clear that it's heading in that direction, and we're talking about these drops, which I just it sucks. I don't know how else to put it. It just sucks. Shout out to Fareway Meat and Grocery for bringing you 2 guys named Chris. Kind of feels cool. I feel like this is when the old 2 guys named Jim used to be on. This was appointment listening for me back in the old days.
You listened to that program? See, I got to Des Moines, and it was like at the tail end of it.
Oh, I was locked in. Every week, man, I would turn on 1040 and listen to 2 guys named Jim. Really? One of the highlights of my career was Jim Walden called me one day when I was in college. And I don't know who gave him my number, but Jim Walden called me and asked me to come on and be on with him and Zabel. And I was like, absolutely.
Really?
What do I got to do? Yeah.
What the hell did they want you on the show for?
They always called me around National Signing Day. I would be their recruiting guy because that was when I worked at Scout.com.
Jim Zabel had an interest in recruits?
It was the single least detailed interview I think I did every year. Chris, tell me about this. They would just ask me about the kids from Iowa, and then it would turn into like, they'd just start telling stories back and forth, and I was just a guy on the other, like I wasn't even a part of the conversation. So, yeah, I did that for like 4 years. I would go on 2 guys named Jim once a year to talk recruiting.
Was this when you were in high school?
No, college. So I started my career. We didn't really know each other then. I had a full-time job in sports media as a sophomore in college. I had no business having this job, but I was running CycloneNation.com, which was from Scout. Steve Dace hired me.
Cyclone Nation.
Yeah.
That's not the one that Narcisse was a part of?
Yes. Narcisse.
That was?
Narcisse and Steve Dace were my...
Coach, Coach, I can do 25,000 push-ups in one day. How many does your team do? Those were the days when Narcisse was at the press conference.
He had that giant tape recorder. It was like a backpack.
So you worked with Narcisse?
Yeah, Dace and Narcisse were the guys who brought me into the business. It's amazing I'm still here. Like, it's amazing that I
Narcisse, because he went into politics, right?
Obviously they both did.
But was he a Republican too, like Dace?
Yes.
And that's why you're a hardcore right winger now? What are you laughing? That's
why
you're MAGA?
Sometime I'll do a tell all on all those days, but now is not the time. It really is amazing
for Tucker Carlson and Sean Hannity.
It's amazing I have a career. We'll just put it that way. Like, it is amazing that I haven't been canceled or whatever based off of my upbringing in this career. Anyways, shout out to Jim Zabel and Jim Walden. God bless Zabel's soul. And Walden was just on with Murph and Andy.
Yeah, that was a fun interview.
Yeah, that was cool.
He did the color commentary on the Drake radio when they played it like Idaho State or something.
Like recently?
Yeah, that's why he was on, because he was gonna.
I didn't hear that part of the interview, but that's cool.
Color commentary with Chuck Reed.
That's awesome.
Because Drake was playing in the Northwest somewhere.
You want to hear top 5 worst sports moments of my life, and only people who know Chuck Reed will truly appreciate this. Okay, Elise. It's the Iowa State Drake football game from like 2018 or whatever godforsaken year that was. It is a monsoon, okay? It's maybe the worst weather day I've ever seen in a sporting event. The Jack Trice Stadium, the mud was like inches deep. Like, it was horrible. Horrible. And I'm down there because I have to do all this pregame stuff. This is back when, and it's just like a normal home game. So I had to be outside, and I'm soaked. Like, it's a disaster. I'm freezing cold.
It wasn't like 35 degrees, too?
Yeah, it was horrible. It was horrible.
Nobody in the stands.
Nobody's there. Like, they should have never been able to play on that surface, but they had to. Like, they can't move it anywhere. Oh, God.
I remember. I was watching this game on some bootleg website. What was this game on?
Cyclones TV, bro.
Okay, well, I don't get that in South Florida. I was watching it on some bootleg website. You couldn't see through the fog. And it looked like an old MC-22 game.
And it was... I remember texting friends of mine before that game. Like, Iowa State was like a 40-point favorite. I'm like, if you want to make some money, take the under and Drake, because nobody can even run on this field. Like, it's horrible. And my media seat hassle, and this was my own fault, because it's not like the press box was full for this one, but I'm sitting literally, there's a window between me and Chuck Reed and Drake radio during this game. And Chuck Reed I love Chuck. He's a buddy of both of ours. We both like him. He's a very intense broadcaster, and I've never wanted to just hop over and just punch a play-by-play guy in the face before. If I was the disaster, like, would have been just completely out of control if Iowa State loses that football game on so many different levels. And Chuck Reed is just over there just being such a dick, right? He's just, and he's excited for his team. I get it, but I'm like, not in the mood, bro. My underwear's wet. There's significant shrinkage going on.
Hang on. Like, so I thought you were in the press box.
I was. The visiting team.
How are you so cold?
Because I didn't have a second pair of clothes. I was still soaked from the pregame.
You were outside for the whole pregame show?
I was outside for like 2 hours before the game started because
Why?
At that game, I think it was late in the year, so it was December. I did Cyclone Fanatic pregame 3 hours to 2 hours before kick. Then Cyclone Radio Network.
What were you doing outside? Why didn't you do it indoors somewhere?
We're outside.
Why?
Because that's where it used to be.
That sounds like a horrible mistake.
It was
you
terrible.
remember-
It was one of the worst days of my life.
Do you remember when Chuck Reed spilled the Skittles all over the court at the Drake game and they had to stop playing? There was video of it at Channel 13. He had a big box of like movie sized box of Skittles, and he had like a courtside seat for the Drake games, and he spilled the Skittles, and they go rolling all over the floor, and they had to stop the game for like 5 minutes and pick up all of these, and the Skittles are rolling everywhere. They're going everywhere. And he's out there, he's trying to kick them around, kick them back. It's a huge deal. I'm surprised they didn't get teed up for that. You don't remember that? It was about 10, 15 years ago.
Somebody still has to have that video somewhere.
Oh, yeah, Keith Murphy definitely has that video at Channel 13.
No way he's gotten rid of that. Anyways.
That's the Chuck Reed portion of the pod.
Iowa's our friends at Circa. Shout out Circa Sports. Iowa. Download their app, guys. I'm telling. Bloom did over the weekend. Bloom says to me today, he's like, holy shit, why didn't I download this earlier? The odds are way better. And I was like, I told you. I'm not lying.
Here's my problem. The gambling isn't legal yet in Florida.
Well, someday.
I mean, I hope.
We're working on a Vegas trip where we're going to go and stay at Circa. Mm-hmm. And so they want to like videotape us just getting drunk in a penthouse suite. Are you cool with that?
It's going to be like The Hangover.
Got Mike Tyson. Tigers.
Wait, you just sent me a text earlier asking if my wife would want to go.
Well, it's just bouncing that out there.
Is she going to want to deal with that?
Well, I don't really. Well, I thought actually we'd put the wives in a whole other complex.
What about your kids?
Yeah, I'll get a sitter. My mom and dad can help.
What, back in Iowa?
Yeah, I'm not taking my kids to Circa. Are you kidding me?
I don't know what you do with kids. I don't have any.
You need to stop saying that this is what you get for having kids thing is your common response to everything I text you.
Or you're like, I've got it. I've got to put Elise down for a nap, and if she goes down for a nap at 2:30, then I can't do the podcast until 7:30. Like, how does that even make sense?
This is the problem with guys like you, and I don't care. Like, I totally respect the fact that you didn't have kids. Great. Well, like when I'm trying to like explain this stuff to you, you just don't understand it. You can't comprehend it. So like all weekend long, I'm trying to do all this work, and I'm 1-on-2 with these two girls, and they're actually really good kids. Like she's been sitting next to me this whole time, and
why don't you get a nanny? You got all this money coming in from Fareway.
You got to pay for those things.
Yeah, Fareway will pay for it. Just get a live-in nanny. I work with people who have like 3 live-in nannies.
See, I could use one of those, but I can't afford it.
They're not even called nannies. I don't know what they're called.
You know how
special.
Expensive that is?
I don't even want it.
What the hell kind of money do you think I make? I'm a freaking blogger. Iowa is a 28-point underdog at Ohio State.
We were off on that. I guessed 23.5, I think, on Thursday's show. You guessed somewhere around there. Give me Iowa.
I thought it would be under 24.
Give me Iowa. It's a lot of points.
Really?
It's a lot of points. And I'm telling you, Iowa's offense is going to score more points against Ohio State than they will against a lot of other teams.
Yeah, because they know that
Ohio State's going to score, and they know they have to open it up.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, you're giving Brian Ferentz the bye week to come up with some really good stuff here.
That's true. Backyard football. But a lot of backyard football this weekend.
Watching
Did you see Hendon Hooker and Bryce Young running around?
Watching that game, if you couldn't sit there and like just laugh at the Brian Ferentz comment about mobile quarterbacks.
We have no interest in backyard football in Iowa City, Chris. No interest.
Man, yeah. Bryce Young, by the way, speaking of that game.
It's 28.5 here with Van Wink's got the current odds up. 28.5 is the line. Total is 40.
DraftKings.
40. I'm sorry, 49. This is DraftKings.
Yeah.
Iowa 25-1 to win.
The Bryce Young, speaking of the backyard football and everything, I think that they get blown out if he doesn't play in that game.
They do. They do.
He was
I don't think there's any doubt about that.
okay.
He was keeping them in it.
Yeah.
I didn't get to see the whole thing, but it was funny. I was in Birmingham watching that game go down with a bunch of Alabama fans, and boy, they were pretty quiet after they lost that game. But
We
here's the
didn't
thing.
even
They
watch
still
the-
control their own fate. You know, they went out there. They're in the playoff.
Hooker's the Heisman today, right?
I have not seen the updated odds, but my guess is C.J. Stroud is still a pretty big favorite. He was a big favorite going into this weekend. He was like minus 140, and the number 2 guy was 8-1. And who was that? I'm blanking on who was the number 2 guy. It wasn't Bryce Young. Hooker was 14-1. I would guess that right now Hooker's probably something like 5-1. He's probably number 2 in the Heisman odds now, behind C.J. Stroud.
Hold on, I'm pulling it up right now. It looks like Corum from Michigan is in the
He's
mix.
up now too because he had a. He's good.
I'm seeing
He's a running back.
Stroud plus 100,
Okay.
Hooker plus 800,
So it's not
Caleb
even as
Williams.
close. Yeah, it's not close.
Caleb Williams at plus 800.
Caleb Williams, he was number 2 at 8-1 going into the week, and they get beat. So
This is insane. How is Max Duggan all the way down at plus 4,000? That doesn't make any
he plays
sense
for
to me.
TCU.
Yeah, well, that's the problem with this system. If I had
he
to
played
vote
for Alabama,
today, it
he'd
would
be
be
the favorite.
Hooker, Max Duggan would be a clear 1-2 for me.
I think the problem is, and the reason why his odds are so long, is because they're assuming that TCU isn't going to run the table, isn't going to make the playoff. And let's be honest, if you're going to win the Heisman Trophy, you're probably going to need to be on a team that goes to the playoff, a team that has a ton of success. TCU is off to a good start, but are they really going to run the table? Are they really going to be in the playoff? If you don't make the playoff, you have to be like, your numbers, your season has to be just far and away better than anybody else for you to have a chance, or else it's just going to go to the guy on Alabama or the guy on Georgia. You know, you could say the same thing about Stetson Bennett, though, at the same time. Bennett doesn't get that shine because he's not a huge NFL prospect. A really good player, though. I can't wait for Tennessee's going to Georgia soon. That's going to be... I was sitting next to a Georgia fan on the flight home today. He's all fired up.
Man, did you see the Tennessee students last night? It was just
There is
mayhem.
no place I would rather not be than on the field at Tennessee when that went down. Like Jenny Dell, the sideline report. I have been in too many of those in Iowa City and Ames. I hate being on the field during field stormings.
What are you claustrophobic?
I've had some bad experiences.
Did
And
you get arrested?
Well, that was the Michigan State game. That wasn't a field storming. That was
What did you get
it was
arrested
a different
for?
circumstance. Somebody at work just found out about this the other day too, and they were blown away. So the reason I'll go back to that in a second. The reason I don't like field stormings is because it's dangerous. And when Iowa beat Penn State in 2008 with that last second field goal, a Penn State lineman, I had the camera on my shoulder like this, going onto the field. Penn State lineman comes from this side, blindsides me, just blasts me over. I fall down, camera falls, rolls, and pieces start falling off of it. Thank God Brandon McCauley was right by me. He got hit too, but didn't fall over. And then he calls it our guardian angel. Some random guy was right next to us and helped me to my feet and helped me gather my camera before the entire crowd got on us. And then after that, never again. Anytime I was involved on the field when there was a field storm, that 44-41 game in Ames, the overtime game, I went straight to the corner. Never again will I be in that unless I'm forced to because of a sideline report or something.
Look at this footage that Van Winkle has of these kids and these
And
goalposts.
how about Tennessee? Have you heard about this? They are
yeah.
crowd.
This pisses me
funding.
off. Oh, this makes me mad.
Like the program, all the money that they earned just in that win last night, all the publicity that they got, and they're going to ask to crowd fund for new goalposts?
Somebody pulled it up. I saw it on Twitter. The goalposts cost $100,000.
That's video from Josh Pate, by the way, Pate State. He was on the field for
He's
that
the
one.
best. I don't know if this is real, somebody posted that like goalposts are like $100,000, and the freaking SEC money, and they got to crowdsource this.
I would guess 50 to 100 grand. That's my guess. It's just some posts that you put into the ground.
David Ubben from The Athletic did a great piece. I've known David forever.
Is that how he pronounces his last name?
Yeah.
Ubben? I thought it was Ubben.
No, Ubben.
It's Ubben? Like
this
oven?
This is the show about mispronouncing. Yeah, it's Ubben.
Okay.
He followed around the mob last night in Knoxville and just followed these kids around for like 2-3 hours until the goalpost got put in the river.
There are so many people that are like, oh, God, I'd love to be in Knoxville right now. Oh, that is the last place I would want to be. That drunken mess after that win, unless you're willing to get in it with them and get as drunk as they are, no thanks. It's like being in a club at 4 a.m. You've got to go all in, or it's the worst thing ever. Is that Smokey with the goalpost?
Yeah, that's the mascot.
That's great.
So apparently that was part of Ubben's story. The mascot is cared for by a fraternity. Like the dog lives in this frat house.
Really? So I've met Reveille, the A&M dog, and it is cared for by a family. A family has. I was down visiting my friend John, and he lives in College Station, and the dog was out with us at the bar, just hanging with us.
The dog was at the bar?
Yeah, a couple years ago, yeah. It was great.
I didn't know that they had a dog.
A&M mascot. You don't know Reveille?
No.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what A&M is. They act like a military school, but they're not like a military school. You know, like that. I have no idea what they are. I don't know what they're doing. What else we got here? Oklahoma State, TCU. Here's the deal. Just as good of a game as Bama, Tennessee, but it's up against Bama, Tennessee. That's tough.
What the hell happened? I was following that game on my phone.
Spencer Sanders lost his mind in the second half is what happened.
Oklahoma State was up, 24-7?
Yeah. Yep.
What did he turn the ball over a bunch?
Yeah, well, he had honestly, it was a Spencer Petras type line in the second half.
Oh, no chance it was that.
In the second half. He completed like 30% of his.
Hang on. He was 5 for 13, 23 yards, a pick, a fumble, and 4 sacks.
All right, point taken. It wasn't that bad. But I think he was like 16 for 38 or something. He had a horrible stat line. It was really, really terrible.
There go his Heisman odds.
And after yesterday, I mean, come on. Can we put all this ridiculous like comps between the Iowa and Iowa State offenses to bed, please? Like, listen, I get it. We're trying to drum up can we just stop with that? Everybody who's watching.
But there were some Iowa State fans that were doing the same thing.
They're just overreacting.
They wanted, oh, sure, absolutely. But they wanted hard questions to be asked of Tom Manning.
Well, that's fair. Come on, let's just stop with the Manning-Brian Ferentz comp. Like, that's not a fair comp.
Brian Ferentz, Tom Manning.
Such a stupid tweet. Just trolling people. Big 12.
I'd kill for Tom Manning at Iowa. I'd kill for him.
Oh yeah,
well, you guys, that 2:30 window was fun for you guys.
So we actually game. Van Winkle was over at my house,
and you had it on the middle, the big screen too.
We put your stadium game on the big TV so we could listen to your play-by-play between Charlotte and UAB.
Yeah, Charlotte gave them a game. They were 23.5-point dogs, and they were up in the fourth quarter.
That was shocking to me.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's all you can ask for, though, doing a game. I would rather do a good game between two horrible teams than a horrible game between two great teams.
Looks like Michigan is a top 5 team.
Yeah, I'll say.
That was
Penn State,
impressive.
It seems like every year they start off 5-0. They're in the top 10. And last year it was Iowa. This year it's Michigan that shows they're not ready. They are not at the level of Michigan and Ohio State.
Michigan, is really impressive. Those running backs and McCarthy.
I like the way they play. I mean, they play smash mouth power football. They run on you. They play good defense.
But they can also get to the edge. They also have the athletes to do that. Yeah. And then what a nightcap with Utah and USC. I was so impressed with Utah's defensive coordinator. What a weird takeaway from me. But they get the lead, and how often do we see these teams under a minute
defense,
to play, and they'll get into a prevent and stuff like that. They were bringing it. They were going all-out blitzes at Caleb Williams and just trusting their corners one-on-one, and it won them the game. Between Kyle Whittingham deciding to go for 2 and then that's the definition of playing to win. That's a cliche, and I don't always know what it means. I know what it meant there. They played to win that football game. I was blown away by Kyle Whittingham and his staff in that fourth quarter last night.
And how about that crowd, too?
Oh, it was great.
I mean, that place was rocking. They had already lost 2 games this season. They had hopes of maybe making a playoff run, and that's not going to pan out. But, man, they showed up for that game. They made a huge difference. And, USC, I don't know. I mean, maybe if they run the table from here on out, maybe a 1-win Pac-12 champion USC is in that playoff conversation. They probably are. They're probably somewhere between 4th and 7th in the country. But that's a huge blow for the Pac-12. They do have a huge game this weekend, though. The 2 remaining unbeaten teams are going head-to-head. I think it's Oregon and UCLA. And Oregon's lost, obviously, in the non-con. But UCLA hasn't. UCLA is still perfect. So Chip Kelly going back to Oregon.
Chip Kelly Bowl.
In Eugene.
Yep.
Yeah. So I don't know. Pac-12 is in trouble. Big 12, unless TCU wins out, it looks like we might have.
Yeah, the Big 12's not. That league's too even. Those teams are too close. I just can't see anybody. In fact, they'll probably be a 1-loss team. But, look, Texas at Oklahoma State. I don't know. Mm-hmm. I will say that Texas Iowa State beat them up physically a little bit in that game, which I was impressed from an Iowa State standpoint.
I thought they outplayed Texas. I mean, it kind of went the way we thought it would. Sleepy.
The 11 a.m. kick was huge. Yeah.
Iowa State, even though they had that punt block, they're able to bow up defensively. And I could go on and on and on about the special teams.
Just
was he asked? I think Randy asked him about the special teams in the post game, and Matt kind of skirted around answering it.
Here's the deal.
He more talked about how they responded after the mistakes.
Here's a little inside football.
The situation.
Yeah. He that clearly whatever they're doing isn't working. Okay, not making, but the whole they do care. I heard. From a pretty good source that at halftime of the Ohio game, they were up 30-0 or whatever it was. They had a PAT blocked by Ohio. And I heard Matt absolutely lost his mind on that team at halftime of that game.
Well, you know what? Hire a damn special teams coordinator. That has got to be one of the 10 spots that you pay.
Well, no, but they got that guy from the Rams.
An analyst is not a coach.
He's from the NFL, and he watches the film.
I've done a lot of games this season where I look at the special teams coach, and I was like, oh, that guy's been a head coach. Teams
Let's get Chiswick
know
back.
how important special teams are. Everybody except Iowa State, apparently.
No, we got that guy from the Rams.
If you're going to talk about winning in the margins, there is no margin like special teams. That's the margin. Okay,
it's kind of the definition of a margin in college football.
And
it's turnovers and special teams, right? And penalties.
Have special teams as bad it's every single unit. It's the punt team, it's the punt return team, it's the kick return team. It's the field goal kicking team. It's the PAT team. They're kind of the same. I get it. But it's everybody. And it's every year. And I would even argue that this is the worst year they've ever had.
Yeah. I mean, it's certainly
at this point in the season,
cost them the
has
most.
There been, Has there been a worse? I mean, I think next show, I'm going to compile all of the special teams miscues that Iowa State has made this season.
Oh my! Do you have that much time?
It will. I'll have the CBS Sports research team compile all of the mistakes, and it's going to fill up the entire screen.
Where are you at this weekend?
Heading to Birmingham. No, I'm just kidding. No. UAB's not at home this week. I am going to San Antonio.
Oh, nice. The Runners. I
I've
love
got
it.
the Road Runners against North Texas. Those are the only 2 unbeaten teams in Conference USA, and they go head-to-head on Saturday.
Big time. What time?
I'll be at the Alamo Dome, 3:30 Eastern Time. You're going to have to give me that middle TV again.
Is this stadium again?
Yep.
Okay. Oh, I'll be locked into that. I'd love it. I love that type of football. I love that UTSA team. I love their defense. They play a lot like Utah does, very aggressive on defense. I really like to watch them. They struggled this weekend for a while, but it ended up winning. I love the mid conferences. I always pick a couple teams to watch. I'm a huge Tulane fan. That's my team.
Boy,
They're ranked. Yeah.
They've been good.
Speaking of that, so I got on the third TV late last night because I'm watching a dirt race and I'm watching USC.
Are we going to address the NASCAR situation that went down today?
Oh, I feel like we have to. First of all, did you see this in the UNLV game against Air Force?
During the last commercial break.
Look at this. This referee walks up into the bleachers. Or not bleachers. I mean,
that's where the Raiders play. That's the Raiders Stadium. That's where UNLV plays. He walks into the stands, has a talk with the band director, and he's hand you get the sense that he was like, "God damn it, stop playing!"
Whatever he's doing, I've never seen anything like this. And then I just started thinking in my mind, could you just imagine? In an Iowa State game, as much as Iowa State fans just hate refs, a ref just being like, "Hey, stop the game," and he walks up into the bleachers to talk to the band.
Another Iowa State band situation.
Yeah, our band actually listens and can follow directions, unlike the Iowa band.
What did they?
rogue.
I mean, how many Iowa band members did they murder on the field after that game?
Do you remember the just gaslighting that the Iowa president did after that? I don't know if we can play this game anymore.
It's just too unsafe for our band to come up there to
The freaking band just would have stayed where they were supposed to. They wouldn't have had a problem
on the field. Well, I read up on that, on what happened at that UNLV game, and I haven't heard anything from that official in that game. But so the Mountain West apparently has a special rule where a band is not allowed to play at all during a game, when the ball is in. You can't play when the ball is in play, obviously, when the play is going on, but you can play between plays, right?
Yeah.
But in the Mountain West, if a team goes no huddle, you can't play at all, even between plays.
Oh, okay.
But this is Air Force. I went back and I watched the series before that. They were huddling up. They were up 35-7. They were huddling up between every play. They were taking all the time off the play clock. And the ball was on the 1-yard line when he went up into the stands.
He stopped the game on the 1-yard line to do that?
There was a timeout called. They go to break, and they come back, and that ref is up in the stands with the ball on the 1-yard line. So I don't know. I don't know if they were playing during. I didn't hear them at all. I could hear them playing between snaps, but I didn't hear them doing anything that wasn't legal, that wasn't within the rules. So I don't get it.
That's bizarre. I thought it was a riot, though, because all I could imagine is a really angry Jack Trey Stadium. Or could you imagine?
Brian says that YouTube took us off the air. Did we say something bad? Did we violate YouTube guidelines?
Maybe it was the talk about Bubba Wallace and Kyle Larson. Yeah, we had
when they heard
fight.
that you got your start in media from Tucker Carlson and Bill O'Reilly.
That's it. You're out of here. Big tech coming after Dace and Narciss here. All right, that's all I got for you. Be a fun week. A 28-point underdog. Yeah, I haven't been a 28-point underdog in a long time. This is like old school. This is like Hayden Fry days.
We need to look that up. I'm sure.
Actually, you know what? Hold on. Trent Condon, because he's a huge degenerate.
Mr. Wartburg says we're back on YouTube now, so we're all right.
Here you go. Trent Condon sent us this tweet. Iowa's the largest underdog it has been since the year 2000.
Okay, so that was Ferentz's second year.
Nebraska, they were a 41.5-point underdog in that game. I'm pretty sure I was at that game. I went to both of those games when that series was renewed. And Eric Crouch just abused the Hawks in that game in Kinnick.
One game in Kansas City and one game was at Kinnick?
No.
No?
No. You know what I did last night? This is a
so
total.
You're saying both of them were at Kinnick?
No, one was in Lincoln because I was there.
So you were at the game in Lincoln?
I went to both. I went to both games.
Okay.
And yeah, one was in Kinnick and the other one was in.
Maybe they played them in Kansas City.
They played Kansas State in Kansas City one year.
Okay.
Maybe that's what you're thinking of. Yeah, they played Bill Snyder in Kansas State there.
Okay. I was there when Iowa State played Kansas State.
Oh my God!
Was that 2007 or 8? Was that an extra?
Freaking
point?
special teams.
Yeah, so it goes well beyond the Matt Campbell era.
So this is the rabbit holes I go in when I'm getting drunk on a Saturday night. You know what game I put on my third TV once my dirt track race got over last night?
You were really watching dirt track racing on a Saturday night?
Absolutely.
I get pissed when people tell me that they are watching baseball on a college football Saturday.
Well, no, it was like 11:30. The games were over.
Oh, okay. So you weren't.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. All right.
Yeah, like all the games were.
I'll allow it. I'll allow it.
I pulled up on YouTube the 1992 Miami Iowa game. It was the first night game ever
lights.
in Kinnick Stadium. Mm-hmm. Miami was the number one team in the country. Iowa had played in the kickoff classic the year before, lost to NC State, if you remember that. This is back, think of these non-conference schedules. This is what blew me away. This is 1992. Iowa started its season with NC State and Miami. And then I'm sure they played Iowa State the next game. It was just all Power 5 teams. That was Dana Hughes, Harold Jasper. Harold Jasper had the only touchdown in that game for Iowa.
They had some good players on that team. I don't think it ended up being. That was right after the Rose Bowl season.
Yes, Jim Hartlib was the QB.
There was a ton of people were excited. My dad was so excited for that game.
My mom and dad, I remember
smoked.
I specifically, and I don't know where that game got into my head, but I start to think about old games, and then I pulled it up, and I'm like, oh, let's see if it's on YouTube, and sure enough, it was. I remember sitting at my grandma and grandpa's house watching that game because my mom and dad and aunt and uncle and everybody had gone east for the weekend and left me with the old blue hairs to rot and watch the Hawks. But no, anyways.
So this was, you said, the first time since the year 2000 that Iowa has been this big of an underdog in a game at 28.5 points.
To Nebraska, 41.5
I mentioned
points.
Arrowhead Stadium. You were right. That year, they started the season at Arrowhead Stadium against number 8 Kansas State. Then they played Western Michigan, lost. This was Kirk Ferentz's second season. Then they lost to Iowa State. Then they went to number 1 Nebraska and lost 42-13. And then a few weeks later, Ferentz got his first Big Ten win against Michigan State, and then it was Penn State, and then
John
it was
Bucher
Northwestern, and then away we went. And Kirk Ferentz is still the coach.
Hey, real quick, bring Van Winkle in here before we wrap things up. So YouTube kicked us off because we showed the band. Hold on, we can't hear you. We can't hear you, Van Winkle.
Sorry, I muted myself. Apparently we went black for a couple, 20, 30 seconds while we put the band video up. So, man, I guess we should stop playing UNLV band.
So is that a maybe you can't play a CBS Sports Network video?
Yeah, sometimes YouTube can see what you're playing and it'll cut you off.
Well, that just goes to show how popular Iowa Everywhere has gotten, knowing that the executives at YouTube were watching us live.
Couldn't agree more. All right. Thanks for your time, Van Winkle. You're the man.
Van Wink.
Oh, yes, and last but not least, so I had known that you were re-signing with CBS because you had told me, but you made it official. Congratulations! I totally missed this on Friday. Congratulations.
No, thank you. Yeah, it's very exciting. In this business, it's mostly 2-year contracts.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get 3. And so I'm happy to say that it's the longest contract I've ever signed to stay with CBS Sports HQ, and I'm sorry to say this to Keith Murphy, but it's the best job I've ever had, and it's not close. Because when I was working in Des Moines for Keith, my off days were Tuesday, Wednesday. I worked from 2 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. Wednesday through Monday. So it's every weekend. I didn't have many holidays off. It's just hard. It's hard.
You got to really want to do it.
And I did. I mean, I was in my 20s. I didn't know any different. But And then I went to ESPN, and it was kind of the same thing. My off days went kind of all over the place. I always worked weekends. I always worked nights. And then I get this job here. I get to move to Florida, and I get weekends off. A lot of times I go and I call a game, but that's not really work to me.
Well, the fact that they let you do stuff like this and go call games says a lot about the place.
Yeah, and let me do Two Guys Named Chris.
Right. There's not a lot of media entities that would just be like, oh, yeah, do whatever you want. We trust you.
ESPN would not allow it. There's certain places allow stuff like that. They want to see you expand your horizons. They want to see you have success other places. And some places just want to keep you in their box. And that's one of the big reasons why this has been the best job I've ever had. And I'm looking forward to the next several years.
Awesome, man. Well, congratulations. We appreciate that. We appreciate them letting you do this. It's awesome. And we will be watching UTSA and North Texas.
Yes. You remember.
The Mean Green.
North Texas has won 8 straight conference games, and they were the only team in the regular season to beat UTSA last year. UTSA was 11-0, Chris. They were ranked 15th in the country, and they went to Apogee Stadium in Denton, Texas, and got their ass kicked the final week.
The Fighting
of the
Dan
season.
McCartney's. McCartney built that program.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, now it's Seth Luttrell.
He's a good coach.
He is.
Thought he'd be in the Big 12 by now, honestly. Thought he would get a job.
Great first few years at North Texas. He probably turned down some jobs some bigger jobs. And then he had some injury issues and a couple lean years at North Texas. They started 1-6 last year. 1-6.
Yeah.
They won their last 5 games to get to a bowl game, and now they're 3-0 in conference play. So looking forward to that one. Alamo Dome. I'm calling it with Bob Davie. I haven't called it with Bob Davie before. Yeah.
Bob Davie.
He was the one that was on the call for all those Iowa games in 2002 with Brad Banks.
I remember that.
Bob Davie's in the booth. Brian Ferentz is on the sideline on that team watching Brad Banks play backyard football. And he's like, when I become offensive coordinator, there will be none of this.
I was watching Nebraska-Purdue, and they just couldn't stop scoring points last night. And it was
so much fun.
It was Matt Millen was the color guy. And I was like, this poor bastard, like, he was the same guy who was at the Iowa-Nevada game that had the
idiots that say Spencer Petras isn't a good quarterback. I know football. And let me tell you this.
This kid
don't know jack.
I was just thinking the difference between that night in Iowa City compared to what he was watching. By the way, folks, Nebraska's not going to be an easy out this year in the Big Ten West. I hate to tell you that. This Thompson kid now is playing with some confidence.
I think if you look at it right now, you got to pick Purdue and Nebraska head-to-head against Iowa. I mean, I picked Purdue head-to-head against them going into the season. Right now, they might boat race Iowa. And I think Nebraska's a better team than Iowa.
Aiden O'Connell's playing really, really good football right now.
Charlie Jones, again, has more touchdowns than Iowa as an offense.
Yeah. Man. Well, it'll be a fun week as a 28-point underdog. So.
It was nice to not have to worry about an Iowa game on Saturday.
I'm excited. The Vikings and Cyclones are off this week. I have a zero
You're excited
stress.
For that?
Yeah, it's going to be great.
You can just kick back and
Yep.
It is always – I kind of get that when I don't have a game. If I get that random week where I don't have a game And I love calling games, and I would take any game, any weekend to call. But you get that weekend where you can just be a fan, unwind, just watch.
Yes,
everything.
that's what I'm going to do.
Tell the
forward to
wife
it.
to take the kids to Vegas by herself. Go to Circus Sports. They'll get her a penthouse, and you get the whole house to yourself.
You could just sit there, honey, and you can just sunbathe and get drunk and take as much cannabis as you want. Just get high.
Is it legal in Vegas?
Oh, yeah.
Everything's legal in Vegas.
Did you hear the Ricky Williams interview? This is the last time I'm saying goodbye to. Did you listen to it?
This is the
yet?
longest show we've done, by the way. We're up
Yeah.
to over 50.
Yeah, we don't have work to get to.
70
so.
minutes. Well, I've got the Dr. Pepper shoot tomorrow morning.
Okay, yeah, right. Get your beauty sleep. Big commercial star.
Yeah. What were you saying? What did you ask me?
If you listened to the Ricky Williams interview yet.
No.
You brought
So
up cannabis.
I have this problem where if someone tells me that I should watch something, that I refuse to watch it. Like you've
All right.
told me that I need to watch it, and I know that I'm sure that it's good. But there's just
Thanks for
something
the
inside
support.
of me that won't. No, I'll watch it.
I sat there and watched you
I know.
call a freaking UAB Charlotte game while Bama, Tennessee,
but you
and
probably
TCU
had-
Oklahoma State was going
You
on.
probably had some money on the game, didn't you?
Yeah.
Did you have? And you were probably on UAB, right?
Yeah, I was on UAB. So, anyways.
Disappointing.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We appreciate you guys more than you know. Keep telling your friends. That's the only way we can grow. We're the little engine that could. We don't have a lot behind us. It's just a couple of assholes with a dream. Thanks to Matt Van Winkle. We appreciate him as always. And have a great rest of your Sunday night.